Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of World End Economica. I'm nearly getting able to say it in one go, but maybe not. Lisa wasn't in my living room, so I guessed that she was in a room. I made some coffee, headed back to my room, and turned on my computer. In order to solve one problem, I'd made a single move. First, my next move for the problem was to take a look at my stocks. However, the quiet of a church was apparently merely the calm before the storm, I said back on Earth. Several hours later, from far away I could hear the muffled sound of a telephone. Immediately afterwards, on the second floor, I could hear Lisa's hurried footsteps heading downstairs. It had been 3 hours since Lisa rushed out of the church. The day had already turned dark, and after having only eaten one steamed bun for lunch, I was definitely hungry now. The church had fallen silent, an indication that Lisa and Hagana had not yet returned. Lisa had undoubtedly left in a hurry because of Hagana. Did she perhaps get scolded by the police? But I felt there wasn't a reason to rush like that if that was the case. Besides, it was Lisa's hobby to shelter people like her, so I figured she would have been calmer about it. So, if that were the case, then all I could think of were situations like Hagana's parents finding her, or her being about to get caught and needing help. Hopefully not. And thus, I was oddly worried, pacing back and forth in the living room, sneaking peeks through the curtains. The timing of a phone ring in the quiet living room made me jump into surprise prophetically. Would have been more hesitant if Lisa's terminal had rung. My ringing came from a phone on the wall, so I picked up after the fifth ring. Hello? Ah, Hal! I was relieved to hear Lisa's voice so soon, but at the same time I realised she hadn't contacted me for several hours after leaving without a word, making an annoyance well up in me. But before I could complain about it, Lisa continued talking. I'll be home soon. Can you start the bath for me? Huh? Make sure it's hot. Also in the cupboard, I'll set aside some cocoa. Make yourself some. Make it as sweet as you can. Cocoa? Bath? Better yet, where are... Before I could finish, Lisa hung up. I looked at the telephone receiver I'd just been talking to and furiously put it back in place. Why'd I have to take orders involving baths and cocoa without an explanation? While fuming, I thought I would ignore her request, but in the end I reconsidered and started watering the bath. After that, I followed Lisa's instruction. I rummaged through a cupboard to find a package that contained what appeared to be high-grade cocoa, and prepared it according to a recipe on my back. Whilst milk was boiling in the saucepan, the delightful fragrance was enough to make me want some too, when I went to fetch an extra cup. I heard the sound of a door opening and closing from within the church. Muttering about finally being back and sighing wearily, though I hadn't really done much of anything, I turned the stove off since the milk had started boiling. Well, the hot cocoa's almost done. Just as I took the saucepan in my hand and poured the milk into a cup, Hagana walked through the living room with great strides and dove into a room. That really wasn't an exaggeration, as the slamming of a door might as well seem like it shake the church itself. Lisa froze in her tracks in the middle of the living room, looking like she was about to call out to Hagana to stop her. The always calm, somewhat dim-witted but dependable older woman was nowhere to be seen. She was so tired she didn't even notice me looking at her, as her outstretched hands towards Hagana eventually faltered. And when she realised I was looking at her, she let out a small laugh. Thinking we might have seen something, but I shouldn't have, I went back to boiling milk into a cup. Did you prepare it right? Lisa turned towards my back and said those words. Shouldn't you be talking about something else right now? That's what I thought to myself, but I couldn't outright criticise her. Probably. I see. I'm sure if I turned around and would see Lisa with a strained smile on her face. I didn't want to see Lisa like that, so I focused on pouring milk instead. Oh, are you making two? I almost spilled the milk when I heard that. Ah, yeah, I suppose so. Could you hand me one cup? At those words, I finally turned around, and I was startled. At first it was dark, so I didn't notice it, but it was clear the lower part of her right eye was swollen. I don't see a difference. But I hope she's alright. What happened? Huh? At my words, Lisa inspected her top and pants, a feeling of irritation as I looked at her over Roadry, feeling of how silly her actions were. Your face. Ah. As soon as Lisa realised it, she looked up and with her right hand touched her face with her slender fingers. Seeing how painful that looked, my face flinched in reaction. It was nothing. I just ran into something. It was nothing. I don't know how it works on Earth, but on the moon that doesn't look like it was nothing. Even I knew about Newton's third law of motion. Low gravity meant less weight. Less weight meant less impact. I knew from experience because I'd traded many a blow. Lisa looked embarrassed, and had a strange smile on her face as I saw through her ruse. She then looked towards me. Would you mind giving me some cocoa? Normally I'd be angry at her for dodging a question. However, I couldn't say any more with Lisa in front of me. At the very least, my face showed my displeasure as I stirred a cup I'd poured milk into and placed it on the table. Thank you. Lisa smiled as she thanked me and took a seat at a table. After that, acting as though she'd just returned from a trip into a freezer, she held the cup into her hands, blew on it several times, and slipped lightly from it. At that point I realised I'd forgotten to put sugar in, but it seemed Lisa didn't mind it at all. Or rather, it felt like she wasn't really sensing the taste at all. Her attention really wasn't on what was in front of her, but somewhere else. I deliberately slammed my sugar jar on the table with a thud. Sugar. Ah, thank you. After saying that, she dropped a single sugar cube into her cup listlessly. And then, as if being satisfied with that single action, she didn't pick the cup back up. Well? I couldn't take it any longer and asked a question. Lisa's reaction was slow, and I thought she was just ignoring me at first. Then she slowly looked up at me. What happened? As something of a freeloader, it's not like I had any indirect connection to Hagano or Lisa. But I felt I had a right to ask. Do I have to talk about it? Then, like a child, Lisa responded to me, smiling slightly. Rather than getting angry, I was getting scared. Even then, I gathered up some strength within me and spoke. Well, I did make you this hot cocoa. I had a sour expression on my face when I spoke, and Lisa looked at a cup of cocoa in her hands before looking at me once more. I could see that her face looked somewhat relieved as she was blowing on my cocoa. That's true. You did make cocoa for me. I also prepared a bath. Well, I suppose at this point I can't say nothing in. Lisa drank her cocoa and sighed. The silence was long, and I felt like if it would drag on any longer, it would be stifling enough to lock me over. Yesterday, Toyama came over, remember? Toyama? Yeah. This was a continuation of that talk. After saying that, Lisa drank her cocoa once more. There weren't words of explanation, but even without my urging, I had faith that Lisa would explain everything. Yesterday's talk was, I suppose you could say, simply a demand with regard to a loan. Huh? I raised my voice unintentionally in response. But I just paid interest. Yes, Toyama was grateful for that. That's why I was so polite, you know. Now that you mentioned it, it was true Toyama wasn't really being coercive. He was actually being humble and apologetic. On top of that, he even offered up a prayer at the statue of a crucified man at the altar. Perhaps he was well aware that we'd come up with an unreasonable request. The loan, you see, he asked for it to be paid back in full. In full? My words stopped there as I did some number crunching in my head with regard to the financial situation of the church. The loan was at 50,000 moors with a monthly interest payment of 200. However, I didn't even get back the 200 moors I put up. Given that there were no possibilities of paying back the loan in full. Why'd you have to? Is it written in a contract? No. The loan is indefinite. Toyama always does it like that. I can only loan money out to people I trust, so pay it back whenever you can, he would say. It sounded like a nice deal, but the interest was still being collected, hence the situation was the same. However, Toyama did have a financial backer. Financial backer? This person gave me the original funds that lent him loan out to give to money to people. Ah, and that financial backer appears to have passed away in the hospital. So that was the reason Lisa needed to repay the entire amount. But on the other hand, with his financial backer dead, wouldn't that be a good thing for Toyama? The person who gave Toyama money was apparently someone he knew back on Earth and had very uncertain conditions for borrowing, he said. Then when he died, relatives from his Earth revived and solved a loan document Toyama had to someone else. Ah, I see. It wasn't hard to understand that. Yes, I can't blame the people either. It put Toyama in a difficult situation. Up until now it was a sloppily written contract, but because he'd known that man for such a long time, they had mockingly added some extra stipulations to a contract. Toyama actually never managed to take a mega profit. Ah, I totally had a hunch. An unsecured loan at 6% interest isn't feasible. Speaking of which, you did mention before, didn't you? Because of that, they approached Toyama to pay all that money back. And the total amount is well over 800,000 more, I think. A man wanted us to build a nice small house on a white belt. On Earth, whether it be dollars, yen or marks, it was a princely sum no matter how he looked at it. Naturally, there was no way Toyama could have much money. With someone in need who was also someone he thought he could trust, he would loan out to them, even when his own family's funds were running low. Thus, all Toyama had in his possession were loan contracts. So people who pursued Toyama to return the money said if he wasn't able to pay back the money, they would buy the contracts at a discount. Really? That's really how it is. That's not too bad. I thought that for a brief moment, but when Lisa looked at me, I realised there was more to this. So in other words, the lender changes from Toyama to these other guys. Yep, for us the loan is indefinite. As a precaution, the contract is reviewed every 3 years. Toyama said if there's any issues found during that time, things will be bad. Bad? In other words, you'll have to sell everything off in order to pay it off. I don't really understand, but it sounds like the court can force a disposition. In that case, no matter what assets you have, they could be sold off in a fire sale, so even a loan of 50,000 more could be difficult. So that's why he asked you to pay it all back now. Exactly. He said instead of hurrying to sell at a loss, take the time to find someone who'd be willing to buy the property at a high price. Toyama honestly meant well when he came by. If everything Toyama said could be believed, that is... I wasn't going to say it out loud though. I honestly didn't think that Toyama was a sneaky kind of guy. Of course there were adults who possessed the down and dirty skills of deception, but if that were the case, I felt that Toyama would have presented himself in a much better light. But... and as Lisa punctuated the conversation, my mind stopped wandering. Hagana. That child is rather sharp, and yesterday it seemed she caught wind that something was going on. And then it seemed she caught wind of his talks as well. In a fit of rage, did she confront Toyama then? I asked nervously as Lisa looked as she was slipping deeper into depression. She nodded. At that moment, the image of Hagana as she came to look for Chris above a tunnel crossed my mind. I went to Chris because I figured she'd know about Hagana, and Hagana would probably went to Chris because she figured Chris would know about the neighbourhood. Since Toyama lent money in the neighbourhood, certainly she would have seen his tired appearance before. It was dreadful. Honestly, it caused Toyama a lot of distress. Even in normal circumstances for a money lender, even if they don't actually do anything bad, it's too easy to suspect they are capable of doing things bad anyway. Without knowing the facts, Toyama looks like a bad guy, doesn't he? Even then, he's someone who's known in the area and has been able to continue his work without any major problems, but... and that injury? Oh, this? Lisa laughed weakly and her gaze turned from the living room to further down the corridor. And then, in a rather low voice, she spoke. Thanks to this, I was able to calm Hagana down from her anger. In other words, at that moment, Hagana had either thrown or hit something, probably. I know that she didn't do all that for me, but... that was always the end result. That time with me in the clothing store was probably the same thing. She always seems to blame herself no matter what happens. And if there's anything she can do, no matter where it is, she'll try to do something, I imagine. Difficult personality. Lisa did not disagree with my mumbling. She's a serious girl, stubbornly serious. Why can't she get rewarded for her toils, I wonder? Honestly, what was the Lord thinking? Lisa seemed to laugh in sorrow, then looked downcast before falling silent. But I couldn't stand the silence and spoke up quickly. Well, what are you going to do? Huh? The loan. Return what was given? That was expected. But if everything in the world went that well, I'll be living in a penthouse in Newton City by now. Yeah, what shall we do? As Lisa said that, she looked troubled as she smiled. She She really had no way to repay her money, then I might just blow my lid. I'd probably think she could do whatever she could do would work. But at least she had a means to pay it back. She sold off things like those books. Odds are she would be able to pay back the loan. But even then, Lisa thought about that before and was at a loss. Lisa cared for those books as if they were part of her, and if she should sell those books, she'd never see them again. Studying ancient earth religions at a top-notch university on the moon, setting up a church, a relic of centuries past, shouting runaways and those that have nowhere else to go, reading 100-year-old books from Earth, about God on rainy days. Those are the things she enjoyed doing. For someone so unsuited for a moon, Lisa was very mature. Besides, if I were to make a list of people I could rely on, I'm sure Lisa's name would be propelled to the top. Even so, that same Lisa gave me a troubled smile. There's no doubt Hagana ran over to Armour's place and lashed out insults at him. If not that, then perhaps she pressed the point of selling herself off. As it was Hagana we were talking about, either possibility was believable. Lisa wrapped her hands around a cup of cocoa I poured for her and tilted it slowly and sipped on it. Cocoa always tastes good. Somehow those empty words were gut-wrenching to me. Did you prepare a bath as well? Just as you asked me to. Ha, thank you. Guess this is the part where I'm supposed to tell you and Hagana over the phone to remember to eat well and get along with each other. Ha. It wasn't a joke worth laughing at, so I just let out a snort of discontent. Didn't seem like Lisa wanted to laugh either. She put down a cup and stood up. Thank you very much. There's another cup left. Lisa paused a moment and laughed slightly as she shrugged her shoulders. I don't want it. I don't want to get fat. I hope you won't mind if I use the bath first. Oh, no, that's fine by me. I'll be angry if you peep. Of course I won't. I reacted reflexively. Only then did Lisa laugh happily. Leaving behind that smile, she went towards the bathroom. It seemed like her manner of walking was a listless, forlorn manner to it. And with a thud, the door closed, and I stared at it for no real reason. When I heard the door next to the bath open and close, I averted my eyes from the door as if a surveillance camera was looking right at me. My eyes then turned towards a single cup left in the sink. It had always started to cool down as a thin layer was floating on top of the milk. What was Lisa going to do after this? Let's ponder that next time. Thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.